So if you're a plant-based eater and you head over to Chick-fil-A, you're gonna have a really hard time finding something to eat, or at least something that's really that good. I mean, you're gonna be able to order like fries, you can probably order one of their wraps and tell them to take the chicken out. All in all, they don't really have a whole lot of options. Now, when I did my Chipotle but vegan video a few weeks ago, I was able to order a plant-based burrito from Chipotle and just compare it to what I made here, which came out really good. But I can't really do that with Chick-fil-A because, like I said, they don't have like a vegan chicken. They don't have like any plant-based options there. You can't get like a plant-based chicken sandwich with a potato on it. Like, they really need to kind of step it up a little bit. Come on, Chick-fil-A, you can do better. KFC is beating you right now in the plant-based world. Let's see if we can make a really good Chick-fil-A Chick-un. Now, to make this chicken, I'm gonna kind of base this recipe off of the Gardein Scallopini. I've used that in the past. I used it on my chicken wings. The Gardein Scallopini chicken is pretty dang good. Now, I know that Gardein uses like an industrial processing to get that chicken, that texture exactly right. So today we're gonna make nuggets. I just wanna see if I can make little bite-sized nuggets using the ingredients label on the back and some just techniques and ideas that I'm thinking of. I don't know if this is gonna work. This is a test. I've been kind of enjoying these like testing series, so we're gonna combine my testing series with my fast food series, and let's see if we could test out and make a really good little chicken nugget that we can bread up and make it taste just like Chick-fil-A. So a lot of these ingredients are ingredients that we've used in the past. They're not very complicated. We're gonna be using some TVP. We're also gonna be using some grains. We're gonna be using some quinoa and some amaranth. Now, I'm using the amaranth because that's the grain that was used in the Beyond Chicken. I always thought that texture was really good. I think the amaranth is really gonna help that texture, kind of tighten it up. Now, the quinoa and amaranth really are there for structure. So we're gonna use about 2 tablespoons or about 30 grams of the quinoa, and the same with the amaranth. And we're just gonna toss these guys into a hot pan and kind of shake around while toasting. And we're gonna toast while we hear these guys snap and pop. While we're waiting for those guys to cool down, we're gonna drop about a cup or about 100 grams of textured vegetable protein into a blender, and we're just gonna quickly just pulse. So I'm just gonna move this over to a medium-sized bowl, and you could see the texture different from the old TVP to the now kind of ground TVP. There's still some bits, but it's a lot finer texture. So now in that same blender, we're gonna drop our toasted amaranth and quinoa into the blender. And this time, we want it to be a fine powder. We want as floury of a consistency as we can get. Now, I let this go for about a minute. If you have like a grain mill or something, you'll probably end up with a better finished product. But I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. Definitely looks nice and floury. I think that should be pretty good. We're still gonna run this through like a fine mesh sieve because I really don't want any big bits of this grain in there. Want it to be pretty floury. So from here, we're gonna add some binding ingredients. I'm gonna use a tablespoon or 5.5 grams of methyl cellulose, 1 teaspoon or 4 grams of xanthan gum. That's gonna give it a chew. It's kind of like elasticity that I was talking about. Then about a tablespoon or 10 grams of tapioca starch. Let's mix these guys together, make sure everything's nice and mixed through. It's gonna be the main bit of the chicken. Now, I know the Gardein Scallopini doesn't have like that bits of textured protein in their mix, but unfortunately they use like an extruder to process their chicken. That's where it comes up with those pulled chicken bits where it really feels like chicken. I don't have one of those extruder, or like it's a huge piece of machinery that I can't do here. So that's why I kept the small bits of textured protein in there just to give it some texture, some bit of bite, some form. It's probably about the closest thing that we could get to the Gardein without having any sort of machinery. Now at this bit, I'm just gonna use a chicken broth. Now you can use any vegan chicken broth that you have. This one here, this chicken flavor broth is made by Shanggie, S-H-A-N-G-G-I-E. I just used like a pretty heavy pinch of it. It's pretty strong, so I would say probably about 1/2 teaspoon or maybe even a gram, you know, not much. So now let's put together our liquid ingredients. We have about 1 cup or 250 milliliters of water. Now, for this flavoring, we're just gonna do 2 or 3 milliliters, so not much, just a drop of soy sauce, a drop of white distilled vinegar, and then a touch of Marmite. Now, Marmite is a yeast extract. It gives things a very, very meaty flavor. Now, then lastly, about a tablespoon or so of a very mild flavored oil. Then all we gotta do is just mix these guys together. And I'm gonna do it slow because I just wanna make sure that I don't have too much liquid. I don't wanna like over liquid size this. So all I'm gonna do is just cover this guy up, let it sit in a warm spot. I'm gonna throw it in the oven. It's a naturally warm spot, and let it chill for about 30 minutes so everything hydrates. This is gonna be awesome. Okay, just pulled this out. It is looking really good, exactly the way that I wanted it to. So I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break this into probably 2 or 3 kind of like chicken breast size pieces. And then I'm gonna wrap it in some parchment paper. But I have a steamer with a steamer basket rolling. And we're just going to drop these guys in and steam them for about 30 minutes. Okay, so these came in the steamer just a little too wet still. I'm gonna see if we could throw them in the oven. I'm gonna cube them up real quick into small cubes, toss them in the oven, 350 degrees. Let's cook them for about 30 minutes. Okay, after about 30 minutes in the oven, these are still just not coming out the way that I want them to. They look more like a protein bar would look and less like chicken. And they honestly kind of taste like a dry protein bar. Terrible. I just don't have the processing capabilities to do what Gardein does. So let's move ahead really fast, real quick. So let's quickly put together the same exact recipe. But in this version, instead of using quinoa and then amaranth, we're gonna use a vital wheat gluten. I think that's gonna really give us that texture, the pull, the snap, the everything that we want out of a Chick-un. And I think that's gonna work a heck of a lot better. So instead of the 4 tablespoons of grain, we're gonna do 4 tablespoons of the vital wheat gluten. So at this point, I just kind of want to like quickly knead this. I just want to form some layers. So all I'm going to do is just going to keep flattening out and then pulling into the same direction, just trying to get all of the gluten strands to line up one way. So we're going to let this rest for about 20 minutes or so. I'm going to wrap it up in some foil, and then we're going to steam it for about 30 minutes or so. I'm just going to drop a touch of olive oil on the foil and then wrap them pretty tight. Okay, let's steam these, get some chicken. Okay, while the Chick-un is still steaming, we're gonna make our breading for our Chick-fil-A Chick-un nuggets. Now this breading recipe I actually got from website dinnerthendessert.com. Now their version isn't a plant-based version, but we're gonna fix that. So I'm just gonna follow along. We're gonna do about 3/4 of a cup of breadcrumbs. Process the breadcrumbs until smooth. And we're just gonna transfer our floured breadcrumbs over to like a medium bowl here. To the breadcrumbs, we're gonna add 3/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons kosher salt, 1/2 teaspoon white pepper, and lastly, 1/4 teaspoon chili powder. Let's whisk this all together. This is our dry mix. So in a second bowl here, we're gonna do our wet mix, and the wet mix is gonna be really simple. I'm gonna do about 6 tablespoons of Just Egg. Then I'm gonna do about 1 cup of a plant-based milk. You can use like a cashew milk. Use anything that's like really rich, any sort of like really rich plant-based milk. I think like an oat milk would probably work really well. I'm using a pea protein-based milk. This one's Ripple. And then just give this a whisk. Now this isn't specifically in this recipe, but I am gonna do just a touch of pickle juice, not much, just to give that acidic kind of nature that we want. And from what I understand, I believe Chick-fil-A batters their chicken in like a pickle juice. Ooh, that really added that pickly type of brine to this. Okay, so these guys came out really good. Let's go ahead and pull them out of the steamer. We're gonna cut them up into some cubes, and then let's toss them into our egg and milk mixture and let them kind of hang out. While we're waiting for these guys to chill, let's throw some oil into a large skillet. We're gonna fill it up about 3 inches or so from the bottom, and let's heat that guy up to about 375 degrees. Let's go ahead and make our Chick-fil-A sauce. 1/4 cup of vegan mayo, 1/8 of a cup of agave, 1 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 1 tablespoon of yellow mustard, 1/8 of a cup of barbecue sauce. I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's. Let's mix that up. Let's see what this is like. That is dead on 100% the Chick-fil-A sauce. That's perfect vegan Chick-fil-A sauce. Mind blown. Mind blown. Okay, so the oil's up to temperature. Let's toss in some chicken here. And we'll just toss in a little bit of the Chick-un, let them sit in there for just a moment, and then let's drop these into the fryer. We're just gonna fry in batches. We're gonna do about 3 batches. Look at these, look at them. Oh, it's just wonderful. The sauce came out good, the nuggets came out fantastic. I mean, fantastic. And they taste super good. I mean, super. Look inside these things, hold on. That Chick-un consistency, dead on chicken consistency. Now, realistically, you can make this breading, you can make this sauce, and you can coat up some Gardein Chick-un scallopinis, or, you know, even use some like no evil chicken. Stuff is pretty good. But I'm a fan of these.